With Dragon Ball Daima recently wrapping up and concluding its run here, it's safe to say that the future here of Sparking Zero couldn't be that much more brighter. But is that truly the case here, though? With the recent announcement and unveiling of a new DLC pack featuring Super Saiyan Daima Goku as well as Vegeta, and also Glorio as well, from this brand new Dragon Ball show, it's really uncertain at this given point in time just what exactly Bandai Namco are up to and what sort of tricks they have up their sleeves here regarding the latest Dragon Ball video game here that took the whole world by storm. And it's absolutely still mind blowing to me here, guys, that we finally have Budokai Tenkaichi 4. It really is a true dream come true. What exactly, like I said prior here, is going on with this game? What sort of characters could we end up getting? Could we, in fact, be getting, say, the new version of Super Saiyan 4 Goku? Also, in addition, what about, say, Goma in his normal and buffed up forms? It's really hard to tell here and gauge just what exactly is going on with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero here in terms of its DLC, but I really do hope that at the end of the day, we end up getting all these characters and then some, you could say, because if we're going to simply be getting here 2 more DLC packs for Daima here and everything related to it, also, hopefully we get some stages here featuring the Demon Realm. I, for one, feel like that would be very, very awesome and very, very cool to have them included here in Sparking Zero. And maybe some other additional maps as well thrown in just for good measure here. Say, for instance, an ice stage to represent the Broly movie from Dragon Ball Super, as well as perhaps the Red Ribbon Army base from Dragon Ball Super Superhero, Master Roshi's house, Kami's Lookout, Beerus's planet even. Also, what about the Hell stage from Fusion Reborn, one of the older Dragon Ball Z movies? I mean, come on, you have Janemba, you have Gogeta with his signature Dragon Ball Z variant, and you can't even give us one stage, Bandai Namco? I mean, I'm not trying to ask for much here. I just want this game to be the complete package that it should have most definitely been upon launch day. I'm just going to be one to say it here. It has to be said. Sparking Zero ain't perfect. It's not all there. But for what is here, is pretty darn good. It has a lot of substance to it, but we just need a little bit more icing on top of the cake, as they say, and then we'd have the whole total package here. But yeah, for Dragon Ball Daima, though, specifically, could we in fact be getting Goma in both of his 2 forms? The evil Supreme Kai, his assistant, as well as perhaps the charming Dr. Enitsu as well. Could they all be perhaps joining the cast here? It's really hard to speculate. And also, of course, all the Super Saiyan forms for Mini Goku and Mini Vegeta as well. Can't forget those then. But going off of the recent trailer that was briefly teased, we'll at least be getting Goku and Vegeta. But there's no word yet, though, on the Super Saiyan 3 variants for them, as well as Super Saiyan 4 for Mini Goku and then an adult version of Goku to then round out the cast here and expand the roster to even greater lengths. You know, it's just my 2 cents here I'm throwing into the ring, guys. But I really, really, really want Sparking Zero to succeed and go down in history as the basically ultimate Dragon Ball game, at least when it comes to the Budokai Tenkaichi series here. I know a lot of us have grown up with these games. I, for one, am one of them. I'm a Tenkaichi veteran. It's what I was raised on, along with the original Budokai games from way, way back in the day. But hey, it's what I prefer for Dragon Ball games. Xenoverse is alright, but that's not really so much my cup of tea. Dragon Ball Fighters, though, that was a good game. A very solid first attempt. And I'd really love for that to get either more DLC somehow, or even, well, this is perhaps a stretch for me, but I'd love a sequel to that game. But, however, staying more on topic here, primarily that being, well, Sparking Zero, of all things, I really just hope that we get all the proper characters here that deserve to be playable in all of their forms, and perhaps even some alternate costumes thrown in them as well for good measure, along with, like I said, some stages to add on here to really make these future DLC packs that much more enticing here and incentivize both older and newer fans to pick these up, to be picking these up and supporting the game. Because, that's what it's all about here at the end of the day. Supporting Sparking Zero and Bandai and showing them and telling them, "Hey, we really like this game. We want it to do well. Please keep supporting it. Please keep giving us more content on a more regular basis here, not just every, 5 to 6 months." And with all this extra space in between in time, with all this extra time then and space in between, that's only gonna, I feel, make the game lose more players as time goes on here. So maybe perhaps every 2 to 3 months, we could see going forward from this second DLC pack, whenever that actually is going to be dropping as well, just a more regular sense of a planned schedule here for this game. What I feel personally keep more players and also draw in more players as well. Newer players that will be more interested in perhaps supporting these DLC packs and warranting more content being created by Bandai Namco at the end of the day, and allowing Sparking Zero to have a longer shelf life here, for lack of a better word. You know, it's no secret that anime games often get the short end of the stick, as it were, but I feel Sparking Zero deserves to not have that same fate here. Oh no, its fate deserves to be that of a different one. And I really, really want this to do well. I want this game to succeed. Like I said, probably too many times already to count here, but I really am just that passionate of a Dragon Ball fan. For what it's worth, I'm just that passionate of a Dragon Ball fan here. This was my gateway anime, you would say. It got me into everything and anything I could get my hands on when I was younger. And ever since, I've been a diehard fan of the series, and I want it to continue. I want Sparking Zero to be that definitive Dragon Ball game that people talk about for years to come here. And it doesn't just happen to be cast aside and left to wither away, you know, in the corner somewhere in the backlogs of people's game libraries, for old and new anime fans. That's not what I want. I want this game, like I said, to do extremely well and to have a bright future ahead of it instead of a darker one. You know, like in the Dragon Ball Super, like for instance, for example, with the Dragon Ball Super Goku Black Arc ending, how what happened to Future Trunks happened to Future Trunks. And yeah, we're trying not to go down that route here specifically. We're going to try and go for the good ending if we can here, and to let Bandai Namco know with our voices here, and also more importantly with our wallets, that we're not messing around when it comes to this game. We want this to do well. We want it to succeed and have a long, healthy life here for fans both old and new, and to really just have this game succeed and be, like I said, the de facto ultimate Dragon Ball game. And then regarding any other content, I would say I would love to personally see some of the older Dragon Ball characters return. I actually did a video on that if anyone's interested in checking that out as well a few months back. That will be that that video specifically is in a playlist that I have covering everything anime game related. So be sure to check that out if you guys are interested in seeing that as well. But yeah, I would say that besides the original Dragon Ball characters, and maybe any other obscure movie characters, like some of the henchmen from across all the original 13 Dragon Ball movies and the two TV specials, I can't really think of anyone else besides maybe a few guest characters that would perhaps make great additions to this game. Say for instance the main character from Dr. Slump, that being Arali, who was actually in Budokai Tenkaichi 3 as a guest character with their own unique stage, that being Penguin Village and whatnot. Also one I think would be really, really interesting to see here would actually be the main character from Sandland, a more modern work from Akira Toriyama, and actually one of his last projects that he worked on before he unfortunately passed away and left us all. But I think that those two characters in particular would be great standouts and just overall fun additions to add to this roster here when it comes to diversity in terms of character variety for Sparking Zero. So that's just my 2 cents, though, on the top of my head in regard to who I would love to see added here, depending on how Bandai Namco treats this game going forward after these two potential Daima DLC related uh, content packs drop, time will ultimately tell here and keep the score about this game. But until then, it's not too late for us to try and, tip the scales of balance here and try and really convince them that this game deserves better. And it also deserves a lot more when it comes to content. And not just that, but regular daily, even, I don't know if this is a stretch here, but perhaps monthly or bi monthly balance patches somehow, if they're able to work those in as well to the game here. You know, I'm not asking for the world. I know a lot of other fans, similar to myself, have, again, similar viewpoints here regarding this game. And what we have is definitely fun. That's the one thing I love about Sparking Zero here. This game is definitely fun at the end of the day. It really feels like the older Budokai Tenkaichi titles brought into the modern era here of gaming. And that's one thing I absolutely adore and will never stop gushing about with this game. Because, yeah, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination here. It does have its flaws, you could say. I mean, I'm no stranger to that as well. I'm not going to lie about that. This game's not perfect by any means, but it is pretty darn fun. And once you finally learn the controls, and like myself, it took some time and a pretty steep learning curve, if I'm being honest. But after that point was, addressed and that threshold was met for the skill ceiling here, everything just started making that much more sense to me as I finally have been able now to do combos and whatnot and vanishing, as well as just lining up certain moves to work with other moves and skills and whatnot. It's just that much more satisfying, guys, at the end of the day when everything pays off and you just line up your combos right with your special moves here, and you can pull off some pretty sick stuff for what it's worth. But I would say then, on that note, this just about does it for everything here on my end regarding Sparking Zero and its hopefully positive future here. And Bandai Namco, I really hope, will pull out all the stops and keep this game going and have it and hopefully too this title will also be getting a much longer shelf life than what everyone currently is pretty much thinking. I know for one, while this game is again not perfect, it deserves to have a longer shelf life and more regular DLC here and updates and balance patching and whatnot, as well as, of course, you know, more game modes and perhaps some other stages and maps to battle on. But for right now, it is what it is. But like I said here previously, hopefully time will ultimately be the most deciding factor here, and it will actually end up paying off for Sparking Zero and all of us fans waiting with bated breath that this will be the truly ultimate Dragon Ball game when everything is said and done here in a few years' time, when we're all looking back fondly on this game and just how awesome it truly was, and also how much fun it will still be to play. So then, guys, I would say that, like I said before, and so then on that note, everybody, I would say that other than that, that will just about do it for everything here on my end regarding what I have to say here right now. And hopefully, we also get more, like I said, Dragon Ball Daima characters, and hopefully even more beyond that scope. From original Dragon Ball and perhaps even some of the movies if we're lucky. But like all things here, time will ultimately be the most deciding factor of it all. So then, I've been your host though for today, Azure, and I am signing off. But be sure to stick around and stay tuned for all this and much, much more from me. I'll be sure to see you guys all next time. But until then, I'll catch you on the flip side. See you later.